introduction. In the sporting industry, there are various things to consider, especially because you are dealing with human beings with different perception towards sport and also controlled by the emotions while watching or experience the sport which they are participating in. Moreover, they are dealing with the behavior of people which might lead to violence. Furthermore, according to Wen B. 1989, sport is a basic feature in all the cultures. The achievement of athletes have enhanced the image of participation in sport activities and contributes to overall health.
Go.
According to the Oxford Dictionary, violence is behavior involving physical force intended to hurt, damage, or kill someone or something.
Types of violence in sport on the field. The legal type of violence on the field is the way contact sports is played with pulling, pushing, tackling, colliding, and handoffs. Legal violence on the sport field is violence that is also allowed by the code of conduct and rules and regulations of sport. An example of this is hockey. In ice hockey, you're allowed to ram into someone against the side, for instance. Another form of legal violence in sports is rugby. Rugby players are allowed to tackle each other with the exception of high tackle, which is elaborated in illegal violence. Legal violence is there for our entertainment, like boxing. Two men or women face each other to fight, which causes concussions and other health factors that affect the athlete long term.
Sportsrec.com. Players and coaches need to sign a code of sportsmanship so that everyone involved in the sport can be responsible for preventing violence on the field. Sports on Rec further reiterate that prevention of violence in sports, athletes need to go over rules and regulations. Coaches need to teach the rules and regulations in sports. Athletes need to practice these rules and regulations as a team. Team sports need to be conducted from a young age. From the beginning of the youth development, kids need to be taught the rules and regulations of the sport. A good team spirit developed from the establishment of their team can help prevent violence on the field. When athletes are happy and enjoy the sport, they don't focus necessarily on winning, but rather enjoy and completing the game.
Causes of violence in a team sport. Number 1, losing. Losing causes violence in sports because it's frustrating. Losing is a skill that needs to be taught amongst all children from a very young age. They need to understand that not everybody can win, but sometimes they need to be losers. Number 2, fouls. A foul occurs when a player tackles into another player and hurting the player instead of getting the ball. Number 3, mistakes. Anthony Martial, a Manchester United player, can be stretching and warming up before he's about to go into a field and accidentally probably hurting another player as well. Number 4, competition. High competition causes violence and sports because it creates a competitive environment. This usually occurs when there's a huge game or a huge hype around the game, and this happens when there's derbies. Like one of the biggest derbies we know is the El Clasico, the Real Madrid and Barcelona derby. Okay, number 5 is cheating. Cheating is usually when a player takes pills or any medicine or doping, that's what we call it, to enhance his ability to play. And this may cause frustration amongst the other players, which will hurt the other guy. And then number 6, personal conflict. Personal conflict is when all sportsmen and athletes go through their own personal issues. And usually they take these personal issues and bring them onto the field. Like Frank Ribery, a Bayern Munich player, was going through a divorce with his wife, and he actually got a red card 5 minutes into the game. And then we have the last one, testosterone. So this is similar to doping as well, when players try to improve their level of performance, and this can also cause violence among the other players.
I'll be talking about violence off the field. According to People Matters, violence off the field is any violent activity that takes place at a sporting event. It can be directed at players, officials, or fellow spectators. Now we're going to talk about the types of violence off the field. Number 1, is property destruction, when spectators rip off seats and throw them around. Stampede, when a group of people run onto a field or run into the entrance of a pavilion or a stadium, and in the process, stepping on other people. We're also going to be talking about verbal abuse, hurling of insults, and this also can be directed at players or fellow spectators. Physical abuse, where people beat each other up at stadiums, that's also a form of behavior off the field. Now, how do we prevent violence at sporting events? Number one, we could look at promoting the event as a family event. Ask parents to bring their children. I can bet you no parent wants to misbehave in front of their children. So they will make sure that they want to lead by example. Players as well, they must lead by example on and off the field so that they can be a good example to their fans and to those that look up to them. Adequate seating at events. Make sure that ticket sales match the seats at the stadium. Don't oversell because that will lead to conflict. Also reducing alcohol availability at sporting events. We all know intoxication can lead to violence. Competent officials is another form of stopping violence off the field. They can make the spectators to be very frustrated, and that could lead to violence.
I want to talk about an incident that took place last year around October, the same time. It was concerning varsity sports at TUT, UP versus TUT. So the incident happened, I'm sure you guys can see what happened, where the fencing was destroyed by spectators during a violence. And what happened was TUT and UP had an outburst of indifferences during the game. And I had the privilege to talk to Mr. Bester. We all know him as Smiley. He's the facility manager and safety officer of TUT. So during the conversation with Smiley, I learned a few things, that violence in sport isn't really a thing. There's violence around sport, where sport will never change. There's rules already in sport in play. Sport is a controlled environment already. What I learned from Smiley is that the campus control they had can't be really controlled, because people are people. Human errors happen, emotions flare, and that's what happened. The sport itself went out as properly, and everything went wrong in a spectatorship, where the spectators, as you can see in the background, started having emotions towards the players and towards the opposition fans as well. And a good conversation, a 20-minute conversation with Smiley, made us realize that sport is vital and security is vital in sports, as the incident happened outside sport, not in sport. And
seeing what I said about people being hooligans is that it's a phenomenal in sport where we can make rules and regulations to control the crowd and things still go bad. And what we saw as well, and TUT saw, that violence can't be controlled, and it's becoming TUT culture as well, where people bring their agenda outside that doesn't have anything to do with sports to make a message on a platform that is sports itself. And that's what TUT had to endure, and with that we lost third parties in terms of investments. We couldn't host games on this field that we won the final the previous year. Our TUT soccer team made 3 final appearances, and this year, even if we make a final appearances, it won't be at this field. And TUT is normal part of the varsity soccer home games, where we can't generate revenue. And the funny thing is, having home games is only for the spectators, and the spectators, through violence, have spoiled our privilege.
Our channel, click the link below for the interview that we were speaking about on the field, and please guys, like our video.